Nutshell by Ian McEwan. Trudy has betrayed her husband, John, who trusts and adores her. She's still in the marital home, a dilapidated, why do I always say that? A dilapidated, priceless London townhouse. But John's not there. Instead, she is with the profoundly banal Claude, and the two of them are hatching a murderous plan. But there is an unexpected witness to their plot who cares deeply about the outcome, the inquisitive 9-month-old resident of Trudy's womb. Told from a perspective unlike any other, Nutshell is riveting, an unforgettable, original, wickedly entertaining novel of murder and deceit from one of the world's writers. Nutshell is told from the point of view of a 9-month-old fetus in Trudy's womb, who is experiencing the world, through what he can hear, what he can experience as this unborn creature. And the main dilemma is that this little fetus knows that Trudy, his mother, has betrayed his genetic father, John. She's displaced John. She's kicked him out of John's home. And now she's taken up with John's brother, Claude. They are scheming to get rid of John because he owns this very expensive London property, which they are planning to sell for the millions and millions of pounds that they will receive. And this very sad and very inquisitive little fetus is witnessing all of these events. There you are. John he's a poet. And our first experience with John is that he comes to meet his estranged wife, and he tries to woo her back or to get back into her good graces by reciting poetry to her, it's hard to think of anything more pathetic than that. I don't know, like if you were a door-to-door toothpick salesman, I think you would probably be more successful than someone who's trying to win his wife back with poetry. But he does, because he is a poet, filled with the poetic spirit, which perhaps causes his unborn son's personality to be the way it is. So, if you don't want any spoilers, stop watching the video right now. Trudy, Gertrude, Claude, Claudius. There was something in the early 2000 years where they were asking the authors of the day to reimagine Shakespeare's works and to challenge these authors to take Shakespeare's plays and to reimagine them as novels. And Ian McEwan chose the greatest of Shakespeare's plays, Hamlet, and he wrote Nutshell. Hamlet is the unnamed fetus hanging upside down in Trudy's womb. It's nice that the unnamed father from Hamlet gets the name John. That's fine. It is very nice to read the novel having that connection to the Shakespearean idea, because it is impossible to ignore the effect that Shakespeare has had on the culture. If you have a character in your film named Romeo that is going to trigger things in your audience's mind, the things that have influenced Western culture the most for the last 2,000 years have been the Bible. Like, nothing escapes the Bible's influence on Western culture. 1.5 millennium later, we have Shakespeare, we have Dante, we have some other good fellas and ladies, maybe, and that puts its stamp on the cultural identity and art. Nowadays, we are, sitting in a jacuzzi of wild, alien, amazing cultural influences, swimming in a sea of astronomical fish. But there is no denying the fact that the Bible, Shakespeare, has put so much of an essence into our cultural and artistic appreciation that it just cannot be denied. It is no wonder that reimagine Romeo and Juliet, reimagine A Midsummer Night's Dream, reimagine Othello, reimagine Coriolanus. So we have this, and it is quite good. I must say that of all modern authors, Ian McEwan must be the one that like he pisses me off so much. The first two books by Ian McEwan, I guess, were the first two books that he wrote. There was The Cement Garden, right there. And then there was a short story collection that he wrote that I forget the name of. I read both of those, and they were just so amazingly original and surprisingly, what's the word when something is really fucking dirty? Not counterculture. Subversive. That's the proper word when you don't want to use swearing. It's like, wow, this guy is deviant. This guy has really got some crazy idea, and I need that in literature. I need the modern voices who are fearless to go into those areas that most writers fear to trespass upon. I need the deviant writers as well. I love the classic. I love the old. I love the origins. I love the connections. I love the long tomes. I love the brief little dynamite. And I love the transgressive, the people who are like, I'm going to write a short story that if people who knew on the subway what you were reading about, they'd be fucking shocked. It's just a book. Just a book. And Ian McEwan, The Cement Garden, and that initial, I think it was called Between the Sheets. It blew my mind. Like, I wondered as a 30-year-old, like, should I be reading this? This is wild stuff. After that, when he achieved fame, he wrote a book called Amsterdam. I thought that was good. And then I liked almost nothing else. I thought it was all platitudes. But this, nutshell, based on Hamlet, a retelling of the Hamlet story in modern day London, the story of Gertrude, Trudy, and Claude trying to do away with John, the poet, and to sell this beautiful London house to get the money. The fetus, the unnamed, his name is not Hamlet, the unnamed progeny, worried, like what will happen to me? Listening to the news on the BBC about the world that this creature is about to be born into. It's quite a good book, and I was very happy to read it because I felt that, well, honestly, I felt so annoyed by almost everything I'd read by Ian McEwan recently. On Chelsea Beach, stupid. The only reason people like it is because they can watch the movie. Atonement, same thing, exactly the same thing. If there's a movie, dummies think it's good. Read the book, dummies. Dummies will never read the book. If there's a movie, the dummies imagine that and because they say that, based on the book, and that gives the dummies this feeling like, I'm not just watching some Marvel bullshit, I'm actually watching a cultural thing because it's based on a book. Dummies, you're dummies. But this one I recommend, but I really strongly recommend The Cement Garden much, much more, although it's dirty as shit. So you need to have a level of maturity. Just read the book. It's dirty as hell, and have some fun. Like, if you're smart enough to go out there and hunting for these weird subversive books, then you're adult enough to be able to deal with these very disturbing scenes. I don't know. It's not really an issue I want to think about too much because it's really a bit too much for me. The question of what is too over the line. Because when you're young, you think nothing is over the line. Everything must be permitted, and like you have these very extreme opinions when you're younger. And then when you get a bit older, you start to think, well, yeah, there is something about going too far, but we do always have to go too far. And then there is the question of, well, is everyone in society allowed to read the stuff that goes too far? What's funny about literature is that it is really a lot more deviant than I think a lot of the dummies really know. It is the dirty, vile stuff because you need to get in there psychologically, emotionally, to get in there, to get those deep, vile, vicious emotions, because that's what it does. That's what it drags out, and that's what art is all about. Is the provocation of the deep emotions. To know that we're still human and to know that we're still alive is that we can feel these vile, revolting feelings of anger and contempt and disgust. Like, what else? you don't get that. You get pissed off with a teenager who puts his feet up on the seat on the bus, but it's not the same thing. It's for my own contemplation, because I think there's maybe 3 books that I will not make videos of because I just think that they are too extreme, too violent, too likely to be triggers for psychopaths. I've read them. They affected me. They are never books that I would ever say to anyone else unless I were quite sure about who they were. That's a book to read. Right. Lottery. $5 per video gets you into the lottery, and you will get a copy of this book. You will actually get this physical book, and you will get my book, The Friend from Budapest. I will mail those both to you. So if your name is drawn, please, you've got to contact me, grantlovesbooks@gmail.com, and you've won. I'll send these to you. I'm sorry to people who didn't win, but who's that? Graham. Congratulations, Graham. You have won the very first lottery. I'm going to be mailing you this. I'm going to be mailing you that. If you want to get, the thing on Patreon, just go to Patreon, Grant Loves Books on Patreon. There's a link below, and you go there and support $5 per video. You can put a cap on that. It's $5 Canadian. Don't be so cheap, right? Canadian is really Canadian money, jokey money per video. And you can win the book I review and my book. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Grant Shipway, and that's Nutshell by Ian McEwan, probably the author that I have the most difficult relationship with. And he's not aware of it at all, but